Yeah, I mean, first of all, Villanova deserves a ton of credit. I thought they really made big plays when they had to. That's what, you know, um, good teams do, winning teams do. They did a really good job making us pay when we made mistakes. When we got up seven, they hung in there and did a heck of a job, kind of fighting back and taking the lead at halftime, which I thought was huge. From our side of things, I thought our guys flew around pretty well on defense, but we weren't as sound as we needed to be. We fouled the three-point shooter twice. We allowed some drives to guys that, that's, not what we wanted to do. We didn't finish a couple of possessions we needed to finish. Again, I thought our guys played with really good effort, but there's a lot of areas where we got to get better.
Dustin, we'll start with you.
Yeah, Shaka, what were they doing defensively that kind of extended you guys on offense? It seems like maybe later in the second half, guards started getting downhill into the paint a little bit more, but what were they doing to just kind of keep that ball flowing around the arc?
Switching. Yeah, they have good personnel for it because Robinson Earl and Samuels can both move their feet really well. So they were switching a lot of the pick and roll. We got better in the second half at getting downhill, but it did kind of get us out, moving the ball side to side. I think when we had good pace and ball movement, even against the switching, we were able to create some good opportunities and closeouts. We just have to make some of those plays better than we did. We had, quite a few times where we were able to create a closeout. We've got to attack it better. We've got to get in the paint and finish. We only got to the foul line 6 times. Obviously, this game was, the officials kind of let it go more so than probably the games in Asheville. But that's something that we've got to own is getting in the paint, offensive rebounding better. And they did a nice job of defending.
Matt and Courtney both mentioned the accountability aspect amongst players after losses in terms of, talking to each other about what needs to improve and things like that. How does that dynamic change with this group, considering that these guys have been around each other for so long and they seem to really like each other, but also seem to be unafraid to make their voices heard?
Well, I think the biggest thing is guys speaking up and communicating how they feel, and then having a willingness to own where each guy needs to get better, and as a team where we need to get better. I told the guys in the locker room, there's not a guy in the locker room, coaches, players, anyone, that doesn't need to grow and move forward from this date, December 6th. And that would have been the case even if we'd have found a way to win. But I think sometimes when you lose a game, it certainly exposes certain areas where you need to get better, even more so than if you would have won. So, Courtney, Matt had some things to say in the locker room afterward. I thought it was good. And now it's about us following up as a team, taking ownership of who we need to be and how we need to be. The other thing is, in the middle of games like this, you have to find a way to go make the next play to the best of your ability, even if the last few plays have not gone your way. And I thought, that certainly wasn't terrible today, but we need to continue to get better at our response during games where it's going to be less than perfect.
Bob, you're up.
Yeah, Shaka, 2 questions. How do you think you guys will respond to this? Because obviously coming back from Maui, it's a big high and you've won a big tournament. When you lose one, how do you feel like you guys will respond to this?
Well, we get it back on the practice court tomorrow. We play on Wednesday. And, the response is really 3 things, Bob. I think the first thing, again, is being willing to be self-reflective and look in the mirror and say, okay, where can I grow? Where can I improve? The second thing is then getting reconnected with your teammates on, okay, here's how our growth impacts our team and what we need to do together to impact team growth. And then the third thing is, having a sense of urgency. Sometimes when you lose a game, a silver lining of that can be, hey, this really should stick in our craw, and you mentioned Maui, we won. It's such a good feeling. Guys were excited. But, I give those guys credit. Coming out of Maui, they said, we want more. We want to be better. And so now losing this game, that urgency should be through the roof.
And then second, just real quick, was Andrew okay? He didn't play the last 12 minutes. Was that matchups? He wasn't, I know he didn't shoot well, but is he okay?
Yeah, he's okay.
Okay.
Brian, you're up.
Shaka, kind of building on what you touched on. I mean, it just, I know you look at what maybe didn't go right, but it looked to me like the guys were very comfortable playing at a much higher level, not only today, but in Asheville too. I mean, do you think that's the case?
Well, I mean, our guys' expectation in games like this, Brian, is, to compete with the best teams in the country. And I think that's why they were so disappointed and upset after the game, because we competed, but we didn't win. Then that's kind of the next evolution of it is, you want to compete, but then you want to be at the highest level and find a way to win. I think there was a feeling there before the game that, hey, this is a big game. And this is one where we're really going to have a level of toughness. And it's a fine line because you're not going to play perfect, but at the same time, you've got to have an expectation of yourself that you're going to make that right, defensive adjustment or defensive rotation. You're going to honor the scouting report. You're going to fly to the glass. You're going to do the things that go into winning. And we didn't do quite enough of those today. So we'll watch the tape. We'll talk about that, and we need to own that and get better.
One thing though that I wanted to ask you about, I thought there were several times guys did, I thought, a very good job of creating one play, going and making another play, and the continuation of, I mean, you've talked about this for several years now, of guys trying to do that. Are they doing a better job at that?
Well, we call that multiple efforts,
Okay.
just, going after one play. Greg had the one where they threw the lob to him and it was a tough pass. He tipped it, but then he went and got it. And I told him in the timeout right after that, that's it. That's a multiple effort. We need more of that from all of our guys. I thought defensively, we had a lot of multiple efforts, but then we just had some that we didn't quite do the right thing. Samuels had a big drive at the end after we had really helped on Robinson Earl. We got to make him shoot that. He's more of a driver than a shooter. Those are things that, you as a player, you learn, man, I got to honor that scouting report and do the right thing there. But our guys, I think, obviously a day like today, we're a couple of plays away from winning a game like today. So we need to get better. We need to get 2 plays better to win this game and continue to improve. We obviously have other really, really tough opponents coming up.
Got 3 last questions in queue. We'll wrap it up with those, starting with Nick.
Yeah, Shaka, just, your last 2 games today against Nova and then UNC in the championship game, it just felt like, almost games that you would see in March, just the intensity and the talent level. Are the guys operating like they're kind of hell-bent on proving themselves and making a run? Because it seems like, especially against teams that you might see down the line in, a March Madness or something like that, they're really stepping up and coming to bat for the team. It just seems like there's a lot of belief in themselves this year.
Well, I mean, those guys know how good collectively that the group can be if everybody does their part. So I think Nick, there's an understanding of that. That's why, again, in the locker room afterwards, had a lot of guys that were, really upset. And it's like, nah, that's a game we got to take. Villanova's a good team. They deserve a ton of credit. They did not make many mistakes today, and they made us pay for ours. But certainly, I think if we can grow from this and keep getting better, we're going to be capable of being able to win games like this.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Hey, Shaka, what do you think of Greg's game today? And was it just experience why you took him out for Kai in those last 2 minutes?
He's still learning. I think we got to keep working on footwork. I thought he had some really good rebounds, did some really good things, but we got to cut down on travels for sure. And, continue to increase his multiple efforts. Then on the defensive end, man, I mean, it's night and day from what you have to deal with in high school. So he's learning to be able to be physical and play hard without fouling. We got to keep working on that every day.
Last one. Go ahead, Cedric.
Yeah, Shaka, you guys fall down 16-11, and Kai gives up a rebound, and you get after him, and we look over in the huddle, and you see Andrew and Courtney talking to him. How important is it having old guys in that huddle, and you don't have to say as much because they know what needs to be done?
Well, it's really important. I mean, these guys know the game. They know what goes into winning, and just as importantly, they've seen some of those plays that we didn't make and how those can be costly. So it's huge to have guys that can address that amongst players. The key is, again, us staying connected. It's easier said than done. There's a lot of forces that try to pull guys apart, but the reality is we all want the same thing on our team. And so staying connected and being able to help each other, especially coming off of a loss today, is going to be really, really huge for us over the next coming days.
Seemed like the guards were really trying to get Jericho going, and he looks like he's still trying to find his sea legs. What's going on with him, and how do you get him up to snuff?
Yeah, we need to get him going. I mean, he's a guy that can go make really, really impressive plays, but we need him to be more assertive. And Matt and Courtney are, really, really encouraging that and pushing him. As you know, he's a guy that he's not the most outgoing guy, so we're just trying to get him to understand what we need from him. It takes him a little bit of time, but we've played 5 games now, so it's time for him to, really assert himself. That's the biggest thing.